Greetings, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Topic UFO. I first saw tonight's guest, I believe it was on an episode of Unsealed, the Alien Files, which is a UFO television show here in the United States. I'm not sure if it's seen throughout the world, but I was immediately intrigued by our guest's the work that he does, the way he does it, and we're going to be talking to him tonight about all of these things that he does regarding UFOs and UFO investigations. He's the founder and director of Aerial Phenomena, and he comes from a background of U.S. Army counterintelligence, with the Department of Defense as a counterintelligence special agent. He was awarded a Bronze Star for combat operations in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He also is the director and founder of the Center for Planetary Science. So, I mean, the guy just has a large background and can't wait to talk to him. His name is Antonio Paris, and we're going to go ahead and just bring him on. Antonio, are you out there, sir?
Hey, Rick. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come speak with us. Antonio, you have so much background and you're involved in so many things. You know, there's just no way we're going to be able to get to everything in one short episode. So we're going to try to hit the highlights if we can. As I said, I first saw you on an episode of Unsealed, I believe it was, and it was a short little segment with you, and I went and looked you up on the internet and came across your website, which is very well done. What got you into ufology, and when did this all start for you?
Well, I would say it's probably the same as you, and that's curiosity. Mm-hmm. And the second part of that is trying to understand the phenomena. Basically, you know, growing up as a kid, I was very interested in probably what you were interested in, and that was, you know, Star Wars, Star Trek, all the cool science fiction stuff. And before entering the Army, I always said to myself, I would like to one day go to college, grad school, and actually study this, you know, professionally. You know, I don't mean study UFOs, but study, you know, astronomy, astrophysics, you know, search for life in the universe, and those kind of things. And you know, while I was in the Army and also for the Department of Defense, after that, I was an investigator, you know, but really dealing with espionage cases and those kind of things. Nevertheless, I did, and I was trained in investigative processes, proper evidence collection, chain of custody, proper witness interviews, and all those things. And it was in grad school 4 or 5 years ago, while I was in my last year studying astrobiology, I kind of revisited the UFO phenomena, and I said, wait a minute, I have two neat backgrounds here. I have training as an actual investigator, and now I have the educational background as a scientist, and studying possible life in the universe and things like that. And I said, hey, maybe I can put these two backgrounds together, converge them, and kind of look at UFO phenomena, maybe kind of like a Sherlock Holmes perspective, you know, a open-minded, a believer, but still taking that careful, skeptical approach to UFOs. And that's what happened. And I'd say about 3 years ago, I did what most good investigators do, is join your local MUFON chapter, do some investigations with them, kind of like hands-on training. And about 6 months into that, I said to myself, I wanted to do something a little more different, really scientific approach to this. And I didn't get the feeling I was getting that out of MUFON. Not that there's anything wrong with the organization, or, you know, I have lots of great friends with MUFON, but I wanted to do things a little different. I felt trapped also with MUFON because you are assigned to the state that you live at, and for the most part, those are the cases that you get are confined to that state. And I said to myself, wait, the UFO phenomena is bigger than the state of Maryland. At the time I was living in Maryland. So I resigned from MUFON and I founded Aerial Phenomena. During the finding process, I introduced myself to local conferences, local meetups, and stuff like that, looking and recruiting for like-minded people like myself, with varying degrees and backgrounds and experiences. So I recruited, 12 to 13 people, depends on, at where we're at in a certain day. Different backgrounds, different educations, from skeptics to hardcore believers and things like that. And that's who we are today. We're a small team. We don't want to grow as big as other organizations, and we only look at specific cases. We don't want to be the black hole of the UFO cases and just accept any case that comes towards us.
Right.
We systematically and carefully triage cases so we can investigate only the good, reliable cases.
So one thing that I really liked about your website after looking through it is that you really do focus on UFO fact.
Yes.
There is no fluff, no fiction on your website whatsoever. And I just think that's great.
Yeah.
And you promote, not only do you, go by those rules, but you also promote factual investigation. And that's something that I think we definitely need more of. I mean, we have MUFON, but then there's all these other people that could benefit from what you're teaching, right?
Yeah. So the one of the main visions of I guess Aerial Phenomena is to promote a systematic approach to ufology. I don't think, speaking as a scientist and as a professor of astronomy, I don't really think you can study the UFO phenomena completely from a scientific perspective. You can use tools and some of the processes that we use in science to look at the phenomena, but unfortunately, there's a lot of organizations out there that proclaim and mislead the believers that they are a scientific organization, and that really is kind of a bad marketing scam. When you look at the scientific method, there's a whole process involved from stating the problem, formulating a hypothesis, et cetera, all the way to reporting your results. In the UFO phenomena, it really stops at maybe observations and maybe designing some experiments, but you really can't build a hypothesis because you don't have any actual physical evidence to conduct experiments, to design experiments based on that, let's say a crashed UFO or the body of an actual extraterrestrial. So you really can't interpret data if you don't have the actual collected evidence. So where does that lead us? We can maybe do some, people do sky watches. They do a lot of interviews. They do some photo forensics videos and stuff like that. But that's where it really ends. Unfortunately, and you just mentioned this, there's a lot of websites out there that sensationalize ufology and kind of gives it a bad fictional name.
Right. Unfortunately, Antonio, and I'm just going by the analytics from this little show that I do.
Yeah.
People, the rank and file out there, they seem to gravitate so much more to this fictional nonsense than they do to the factual,
Well, because it's easy to cherry pick what you want to believe and kind of stay away from the things that make kind of, unbalanced personal biases. Mm-hmm. So you go to any conference, and sometimes I do this by mistake, is that a lot of presentations, a lot of, ufologists, et cetera, present their findings or their topics, so in a sensationalized format that it's meant to, to bring in that audience, emotionally to it sometimes. But at the end of the day, you can have, hundreds of conferences out there, but that's where it stops. There's real, I'm doing this because I think there's something going on. I wouldn't be wasting my time if I didn't think 0.01% of reports out there might be of extraterrestrial origin.
Right.
But if you look at all these websites out there, they're not really that dedicated to scientific. They're more sensationalizing, and you'll see all these cheesy photos of UFOs, cheesy photos of alleged extraterrestrials and things like that. And that, you put all that together, and including the media and Hollywood and all that stuff, the term UFO has now become synonymous with extraterrestrials, even though the word unidentified in itself means unidentified.
Yes, correct. Well, let me ask you, these websites out there and these television shows that do push this non-factual data, now they do bring people into the subject.
Yeah.
So
I don't
are they
think...
completely bad, or do we need them, or should we get rid of them completely? Or
I don't think it's non-factual data. I think people are seeing things. It's being reported, and in some cases, people have a cheesy photo or video or something. Here's the problem: the non-factual stuff is how it's sensationalized by the entertainment industry, by some of these UFO organizations, etc. And there's this they're bringing conjecture rather than factual evidence, to support their hypothesis. So this is where I draw the line. I've never, I don't care how great a photo is or video or it's a 4-star general that's reporting something to me. There's still no physical proof. There's no evidence there. For me, and I'm speaking for for me, not my team, because other people in my team have different beliefs. For me, physical proof or it's something that I can hold in my hand and beyond a reasonable doubt. It's been vetted by dozens of educational institutes out there, scientific institutes out there, that it's not of this world. And unfortunately, we don't have that right now. We don't have that piece of UFO at the Smithsonian where people visit and say, "Whoa, that is from a different planet."
One thing we've been discussing here lately is the whole ET abduction phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it begs the question: if you believe that UFOs exist, and if you believe that UFOs come from someplace other than this planet, then you must believe in extraterrestrials, right? Or not. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like I have a hard time with the whole ET abduction phenomenon. Yeah. I have a hard time believing that one.
There's so many, here's my theory. Here's my opinion of alleged abductions. First of all, we rarely do them here at Aerial Phenomena. And that's for one reason. Nobody in my organization is a trained, or for that matter, a licensed psychiatrist or healthcare professional. I find it very disingenuous and unprofessional and unethical that there are organizations out there that take advantage of these witnesses that claim to be abducted for entertainment purposes. And then you throw in the pseudoscience like hypnosis and false memory. Those things I think are very unethical. And I've had my experiences with a couple of alleged abductees, and these people need help from a licensed psychiatrist or whatever you want to call it. They have come up to me crying. They have come up to me saying that they want to commit suicide. They have come up to me that they've been raped or taken from their homes, and all those things you put together are things that are beyond the scope of UFO investigator. I don't care if you have 30, 40, 50 years investigating UFOs. unless you're a trained professional, you have no business in you can interview them, but that's where it stops.
Right.
Because here's the issue. We've had people call us throughout the night saying that they wanted to commit suicide, they couldn't take the pain anymore, and I would say, okay, I need to call 911. I don't need the police knocking at my door at 3 a.m. and say, do you know this person? And then I say, yes, they committed suicide. And I could be held accountable for that, legally and liable. I don't want to be in a lawsuit where, well, if this person was having issues, why didn't you report it to local officials, etc. And it's heartbreaking that I see a lot of wannabe psychiatrists out there. They're not legally licensed to talk to these people. And I'll tell you straight out, MUFON does it all the time. And they'll do these pseudoscientific experiments, and I just think it's really dangerous. And that's why aerial phenomena does not even go there.
Well, I've even heard of people doing hypnotherapy type of processes on alleged abductees over the internet via Skype.
Oh,
between countries.
There's more evidence. There's more evidence and published papers that hypnosis really does more damage and brings false memory than it does to help bring back memories. So that in itself is just it really taints the evidence and the chain of collection process. And I don't go there. It's just plain and simple. It's unethical. And here's another one. The few alleged abductees that I've actually spoken to never saw a UFO. They claim to have been abducted by something. They were in a medical table or something, and then they find themselves back in their bed. And we've probably handled a few dozen alleged abductees, and at no point did they see an actual spacecraft or UFO, or did they see themselves flying among the stars, or they saw Earth from orbit. So somewhere down the line, and I think it was the Benny Barney Hill alleged abduction, that they made the connection of alien abductees, with UFOs. But if you look at most of these alleged abductees, very few, there are a handful, but very few claim of seeing the physical craft. They'll see something like they're in some kind of room with lights and experiments being conducted on them.
I'm sorry, but so many of the cases happen when they're asleep.
There's a lot of theories behind it. Could be sleep paralysis, even nightmares, or I've had. There's just so many, published, from actual psychiatrists and doctors, and those are the people you should be listening to, not the ufologists, the professionals out there, the MDs that write papers on these alleged abductions. And for the most part, they'll say they're easily explained. There's multiple reasons for why the people are having these dreams or these experiences. But we always tend to gravitate towards the easy explanation, and that's aliens.
Right. It's a tough one, I must say. Because like I said at the beginning, if you do think or believe that UFOs are extraterrestrial of some sort, then that means that there's some type of extraterrestrial, force or being controlling these things. So if that's true, how much more of a stretch is it to have these things start visiting us? But like you said,
it's gotten beyond that. It's gotten to a point where you can go on multiple websites and see some websites fully dedicated into conspiracies that they're here. Aliens are among us. They're part of the government. They're you name it, and that website exists. But we see no evidence of any of that stuff. I always ask the question, what is the big deal? Why, if they're here, why are they hiding? And I always get the response, well, we're not ready, blah, blah, blah. Give me a break, people. It's just not, it's more fantasy driven than fact driven.
So I'm not sure how many cases you have investigated or been involved with. Out of those, however many there are, what do you think is the most intriguing or the best case you've ever investigated?
I would say we've done we do a couple of hundred a year, so and we get more than that though. Like I said, we triage cases. We get hundreds of cases, and as we triage them, and what I mean by triage is we look for only recent cases, multiple witnesses, daytime sightings, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm starting to see a nice trend of black triangles, and I really like the black triangle cases. And a lot of people say, oh, those could be man-made, but on occasion we do get a really credible witness who reports a black triangle, the size of 2 or 3 football fields, relatively silent or hovering, in a controlled airspace like Washington D.C. or etc. Those cases really fascinate me, and those are the cases that have been recently investigating for the most part.
And we seem to be getting more and more of them lately. That's
yeah,
for sure.
and I've got my little database of black triangle photos and of reports. Here's the problem: really, they're not all the same. I mean, they're all different.
Right.
So if I've got 100 different cases about black triangles, they're all pretty much different. So is it the witness that just having bad memory or just is the worst sketcher, or is it the latter? Are these different types of black triangles? I can see if it's man-made, different, a couple of dozen different types of black triangles, but I don't think we have that many defense contractors building hundreds of these giant black triangles. I prefer to think, that it's just memories. I can sit down with 10 different people. I've done this experiment before. I'll sit down with 10 people, show them a UFO, and then an hour later I'll ask them to draw it, and I'll get 10 different drawings. That's just the way. That's how bad memory is. I had a colleague once tell me that the eyes are the worst cameras in the world. So we have to be careful with witness testimony.
I think I know that police agencies have done lots of studies on eyewitness reports, and it's amazing how much they actually get wrong. When it's in a controlled situation, and they
This is why we have an interview process where we try to ask questions that are not interrogatives, straight up questions. We'll ask questions, and it's a couple hundred questions, because we don't want the witness to start coming up with whatever they want to. So for example, we'll ask a question like, what was the shape of the object, rather than was it round or was it triangle. So it's really, the questioning is also very important when you're sitting down with a witness.
Exactly. So you have a couple of things coming up that I wanted to talk about. One that I'm very interested in here. You're doing a first ever Google Live forum on August 3rd of 2014, coming up here in just a month or so. What's that all about? Google Live forum. What's that?
Well, when I was up in the DC area, aerial phenomena, we would meet up every month. We would, meet at Starbucks or somebody's basement or the archives or whatever we were doing that month. We would meet up and talk. In their last year, a couple of us have moved to different states, and we started doing Google chats. That's how we do our meetings now, And I started looking around, and I said, wait a minute, we can actually do a live kind of Google Hangout, that's live with hundreds and hundreds of participants, and you could do this through inviting people through the Google Hangout forum, which is then streamed live via YouTube. And I think it's pretty cool. So
Wow.
what I'm going to do is about a week before the forum starts, I think we got about 50 people now that signed up, and my goal is about 200. And so it's like a conference, but online, really. And I will start soliciting questions for the Q&A for this forum. So the forum is about 2 hours long. The first half hour is going to be talking about, hey, this is what aerial phenomena is, this is what we do, and this is what we don't do. Then the next half hour, we're going to talk about some very interesting UFO investigations that we have done in the past year or two. And then the last hour, it's going to be like an open mic section that you see at a conference. People will email, tweet, Google, text, whatever they want to do, their questions to us, as long as they're relevant to the subject.
Right.
And we will do the team. My team will be on there, all 10 of us, and we will answer our questions to the best of our ability. And I've looked at the 50 plus that I've already RSVP'd. We've got everybody. We've got people from MUFON. We got celebrities. We got reporters. We've got people like you, that love this UFO phenomena. Whether they're organized or unorganized investigators. I have yet to see anybody do this yet on the internet. So this is why I think it pretty much is the first ever Google Live forum on UFOs.
So it's almost like a virtual conference.
Exactly.
So to say.
It's a virtual conference or a virtual meeting, like you've seen these on TV.
Right.
The main participants that you'll see on camera will be the team. We might have a guest. We don't know yet. We might have a guest, and I was thinking maybe like Bill Murphy from Fact or Fake. And then everybody else will chime in, whether by tweeting, posting it in on the Google Hangout page itself. I think this is just going to be a great. There are people that just can't afford the $200 to go to a conference. Some of these conferences, like MUFON, the International UFO Conference in Phoenix, cost up to hundreds of dollars, $200, $300, and
plus
people
the
can't
travel.
afford that. Plus that's not even including travel and food. And if you bring in a guest, I think this is a real low cost way to bring a couple of hundred people together who can't afford these conferences.
Now, is this going to be open to the public, or do you have to get an invite, or what?
It's both. I've done both public and private invites. If you have the link, you can send it to whoever you want. So it's not private.
Okay. Well, where can people get more information about
website? Aerial-phenomenon.org is our main website.
Okay.
I think 2 or 3 links down, or 2 or 3 postings down, you'll see something that says first ever Google Live Hangout.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at that, and it'll tell you the process. It's real easy. You click on the link, and it says RSVP here. You can share that with as many people as possible. I'm really excited. But I've been planning this for about a year now, actually about 6 months now, and I said I think July will be good. I have some free time. And it looks, first week of August. And I think this is going to be a huge hit.
Excellent. Well, I would love to attend and listen in on what's going on there. So if there's any way I could get an invite, I would love to participate.
I'll send you. Yeah, we'll send you the invite. No
Excellent.
problem.
Excellent. So, one thing I also noticed on your website, and this kind of goes along with your whole way of doing things, but it sounds like you're interested in making sure that the next generation of ufologists or people interested in ufology, the next generation coming up, are given good factual data and good investigation techniques, try to get them away from this fictional BS and get them more into the factual. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, a few years ago, I can't remember the guy's name. I was at a conference, and he really liked my presentation, and he said, way to go on draining the swamp. And I love that term. I can't remember his name, and I say that's a great way to put, what I'm trying to do, draining the swamp of all the garbage that's out there regarding ufology. And that's why the I guess subtitle of Aerial Phenomena is Reviving Ufology for the Next Generation. And you're right. I want to, it's funny. I have my 10-year-old daughter who's become so skeptical of the ET phenomena because she sees what I'm doing and draining the swamp, and she's slowly into this, but from a skeptical perspective. So, and that's the goal is to drain the swamp of all the all the National Enquirer stuff that you see out there regarding UFOs, because it's really given us a bad name. This is why professional scientists, the academia, the Harvards, the MITs, the universities, and the government kind of stay away from UFOs because it's a joke, it's a circus. Right. And in the last couple of years, I have to be honest, I think we're starting to make an impact. The fact alone that I've got almost 150,000 followers on Twitter supporting what I'm doing, wow. I think we're starting to make a dent in our initial mission.
That is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
It really is. And I commend you on your efforts to bring up a next generation.
Yeah, Rick, I do. I love ufology. I think there's something out there. I am very skeptical of a lot of the UFO reports that are out there. That doesn't make us debunkers. That doesn't make us, debunkers. That, we use, we would be wasting our time if that's all we wanted to do. Our goal is to clean up the mess that's ufology has been made, and bring it back to a serious topic. So maybe one day, the academia, the government, or the scientists will start looking at this. Right. But right now, they're not going to touch it.
Right. You're absolutely right. And I think maybe with people like you, and if people adopt these types of processes and procedures, it just may happen. It just may happen. Well, listen, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's also why I wrote my 2 books, Aerial Phenomena, Space Science, and so far the reviews have been great. It's the books are for people who love this topic, but they want to understand it from an actual investigator and a scientist. What's his perspective on what's going on, and that's why I wrote those books.
Right, because you have some classical training behind you. This is not something you just kind of made up, right?
No, this is not. I just woke up one day and wanted to chase UFOs. This is years of. This is 10 years in the making. 10 years of me learning to be an investigator, doing actual cases, real world cases, of putting people in jail, studying for 4 or 5 years, and doing actual research on space phenomena, on aerodynamics, on spacecraft propulsion, you name it. And then a couple of more years of, I've been to almost every UFO conference you can think of, hundreds of MUFON meetings. So this is not something I just woke up and said I want to be a UFO investigator.
But I see here though you have a Master's of Science in Planetary Science.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, in my book, my second book, Space Science, I wholeheartedly believe that there should be life out there in the universe. There has to be something. We can't be alone. And that's my passion. My passion is astrobiology, planetary science, extrasolar planets, interstellar travel, and that education and even working now as a professor of astronomy, all that is helping me become a better UFO investigator.
Excellent. Well, listen, Antonio, I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. It was I've been wanting to have you on for a long time, so it was great
Awesome.
to have you here. Again, the website is aerial-phenomenon.org. Check it out. It's just very, very well done, very professional, very factual, a lot of good data there. And then, check out Antonio's books and whatever else you can about him, because you're doing a great job, Antonio.
Excellent. Thanks, Rick.
Well, listen, it was nice to have you, and let's stay in touch and perhaps have you back on, and we'll talk a little bit more sometime in the future.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Good night.
Open the door, you'll find the secret. To find the answer is